as pure villains, but for a time, many Somalis saw them as saviors. And believe me, their story is a wild ride, from a Hollywood blockbuster to a surprising resurgence today. Let's rewind to 2009. The world watched in shock as a US cargo ship, the Maersk Alabama, was hijacked off the coast of Somalia. Its captain, Richard Phillips, became a global figure of courage, and the dramatic rescue operation made headlines everywhere. This wasn't just a news story. It was so gripping, it inspired the blockbuster film Captain Phillips, starring Tom Hanks. This incident brought the issue of Somali piracy into the global spotlight, making it seem like a clear-cut case of good versus evil. But to truly understand why these acts happened and why some saw pirates as heroes, we need to go back much further to the very foundation of Somalia's struggles. Imagine a nation that, after gaining independence in 1960, falls into a deep abyss. That's Somalia. It endured a brutal dictatorship, and by 1991, the country plunged into a devastating civil war. The government collapsed entirely, leaving a power vacuum, a lawless land carved up by rival clans, and no central authority to protect its people or its borders. This wasn't just a political crisis. It was a human catastrophe, and with no government, there was no navy, no coastguard. No one to protect Somalia's incredibly rich and vital coastline. This vulnerability created a perfect storm for a different kind of invasion. With Somalia's government in ruins and its waters unguarded, a shocking exploitation began. Foreign ships, emboldened by the lack of oversight, started treating Somalia's vast, resource-rich maritime territory as their own personal dumping ground and fishing ground. Imagine illegal fishing trawlers plundering marine life that Somali communities relied on for centuries, stripping the oceans bare. But it gets much, much worse. European companies, from Italy to Switzerland to France, began dumping toxic and nuclear waste right off the Somali shores. Think about that for a second. Lethal chemical and radioactive materials poisoning the ocean, killing marine life, and making people sick. It was an ecological and humanitarian disaster unfolding silently, away from the world's gaze. This horrific situation led to something even more sinister, a deal so dark it sounds like something out of a spy novel, the Guns for Waste scandal. Local warlords, hungry for power and weapons in the ongoing civil war, struck a devil's bargain. They allowed foreign entities to dump their dangerous waste in Somali waters in exchange for arms. This wasn't just an environmental crime, it was a fueling of the conflict. These weapons made their way into the hands of militias, further destabilizing the region and indirectly laying the groundwork for the very piracy that would later shock the world. The connection might not be obvious at first glance, but it's a crucial piece of the puzzle. Now, imagine you're a fisherman in Somalia. Your livelihood, your family's future, depends entirely on the sea. But your fish are disappearing, killed by toxic waste, or stolen by massive foreign trawlers. Your traditional way of life is being annihilated, and there's no government to protect you. What do? This desperation, this absolute necessity to survive, led to the birth of the Somali pirates. But they didn't start as pirates in the sense we understand today. These poor fishermen, pushed to the brink, began forming groups to defend their ancestral waters. They called themselves the Somali coastguard, or even more tellingly, the saviors of the sea Badad. They saw themselves as protectors, reclaiming what was rightfully theirs from foreign exploiters. However, intentions can easily get twisted, especially when survival is at stake. What began as a defensive effort soon transformed into something far more lucrative. Hijacking foreign vessels, initially to deter illegal fishing and waste dumping, quickly became a highly profitable enterprise. Imagine the staggering sums involved. By 2011, piracy wasn't just an act of defiance. It had ballooned into Somalia's largest industry. Between 2005 and 2012 alone, these operations raked in an estimated $400 million. This wasn't just individual acts. It was a sophisticated network. Ransom profits were meticulously shared among the hijackers, financiers, guards, and even local communities. For many impoverished Somalis, these pirates weren't criminals. They were like modern-day Robin Hoods, bringing much-needed money and resources into desperate areas. So, how exactly did these operations work? It wasn't always the high-tech, military-grade stuff you might imagine. Somali pirates were incredibly resourceful. They'd use small, fast speedboats to approach massive cargo ships. Then, with ropes and ladders, they'd scale the immense hulls, often in the dead of night, to board the vessels. Once on board, the goal was simple. Seize the ship and its crew, then demand a hefty ransom. And these ransoms, they were often delivered in the most dramatic way possible, by parachutes dropped from aircraft, sometimes worth millions of dollars for a single ship. Despite the dangers, the potential rewards were so great that even with a success rate of around 20 to 30%, it was a gamble many were willing to take. But as with any phenomenon that grows too large, the world eventually had to react. The rampant piracy wasn't just a regional issue. It was disrupting global trade and endangering countless lives. Around 2009, a massive international effort was launched. Global navies from superpowers like the US, India, China, and even NATO forces converged on the Horn of Africa, initiating anti-piracy missions. These coordinated patrols, combined with a crucial change in shipping practices, placing armed guards directly on board commercial vessels, dramatically turned the tide. The risks became too high, the success rate plummeted, and by 2017, Somali piracy had virtually disappeared. It seemed like the end of an era. Yet, history has a strange way of repeating itself. Fast forward to 2023 to 2024. With international attention and naval resources largely diverted to other global hotspots, particularly the ongoing Israel-Hamas conflict and the Red Sea crisis. A familiar shadow began to emerge. Somali pirates resurfaced. We've seen several high-profile hijackings already in 2024, including a Bangladeshi ship that fetched a reported $5 million ransom, and a Chinese vessel ransomed for $2 million. It's a stark reminder that underlying issues, if not fully resolved, can always resurface when the pressure is off. So, this brings us to the core question: heroes or villains? It's easy for us, looking in from the outside, to condemn piracy as a clear act of criminality. But the truth is far more nuanced. A staggering 70% of Somalis, even today, view piracy as a form of national defense. They don't blame the pirates. They blame foreign nations for exploiting their seas, for poisoning their waters, and for stealing their livelihoods. It's a perspective rooted in deep historical grievances and a profound sense of injustice. As Dhruv Rathi eloquently puts it, revolting against injustice is a sign of humanity. But if revolution becomes injustice, it loses its purpose. It's a powerful thought. The initial drive to protect their waters, to fight back against exploitation, was understandable, even noble. But when that fight escalated into seizing ships and demanding ransoms, it crossed a line, causing new forms of injustice and suffering. Understanding this complex history doesn't excuse the violence or the crime, but it helps us grasp the desperate circumstances that led to it. It highlights the devastating impact of resource exploitation and political instability on vulnerable populations. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into a truly complicated piece of global history. What are your thoughts on this? Do you think the label Heroes of the Sea was ever justified? Let me know in the comments below. If you found this video insightful, please hit that like button, share it with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe for more content that challenges perspectives and explores the hidden stories of our world. Your support means everything.